So welcome everybody, my name is Paweł Rzepa, and today I want to share my experiences from my latest research. Before I can start, let me introduce myself. I'm working for a company called Securing as a security consultant. Mainly I'm performing penetration tests, network infrastructure, security assessments, as well as cloud infrastructure audit. Some of my articles you can find on Medium. Tools I will present will be on my GitHub account. So yeah, let's get started. So what are you going to hear today? This clicker, yeah. First of all, I will start from my research when I found more than 5,000 publicly available buckets, which will be actually the introduction to the main problem, meaning, okay, but how to, in an automatic way, how to detect that there is a sensitive information in one of those buckets. I will stand there. And then we will go to analyzing the different methods of detecting secrets. First of all, there will be the manual search, and the manual search will be made based on AWS Mechanical Turk service. Then I will check out the AWS Macie service, and finally I will show you how I develop the other method. So, regarding the simple storage service, it's from the very beginning, so from 2006, you can hear a lot of stories about the leaks. So it's all the time, since 2006 till now, there are all the time publicly available buckets with some sensitive information. So at the beginning of this year, I thought, okay, is it really the issue? Because the researchers very often are outdated. And is it really so simple to find some secrets in such publicly available bucket? So to give you just an example, one of the story from the previous year, the company which was supporting from the IT side, which was supporting the elections in US, they put a DB file containing data of almost 2 million voters in one publicly available bucket. What was interesting, that was only this one bucket. So the buckets containing data of other people from the other states, from US, were restricted, but nobody knows why they put this one open. So I've decided to make my own research and check out if it is really so simple to find it. So a little theory: when you are starting your own, starting a new bucket, actually you can refer to it using such two URLs. So the bucket name has to be unique, and you can also refer to this URL with specifying the AWS endpoint. So actually finding a bucket means enumerating the subdomains. And the example from the US, it was the data of Chicago voters were put in the ChicagoDB bucket. So, first of all, I've started enumerating the buckets using the third parties. So you can use tools like Sublister or AMAS, which is much better than Sublister, for carrying the Yahoo, Google engines, VirusTotal, or tools like BucketStream, when you can carry the certificate transparency logs. Do you know what it is? Okay, so I will tell you. If you are registering the new HTTPS domain, then it goes to the pool called certificate transparency logs. And this pool is, the API to this pool is available to everyone, so everyone can carry it. And with tools like BucketStream, you can carry in search of S3 buckets, and this tool also will verify the permissions to these buckets. So will you have the write permissions or read permissions? However, in my research, much better result gave me the Wayback Machine. Do you know what it is? Have you ever heard about the archive.org? So this is the bot. The Wayback Machine is actually the bot which is constantly crawling the internet and try to make a copy of every file, of every video, of every document, and put it available in archive.org. In Metasploit, which is the framework for offensive security, there is the module called enum wayback, so you can just specify the domain, and it will give you in the output, it will give you all the domains, all the files, and obviously you can just cut the file name and you have the bucket. And for me, that was the best for finding bucket names. So the results were that I found almost 25,000 buckets, and more than 5,000 of them give the publicly available, the public access. And I've started analyzing it manually, and what was shocking for me that most of these found buckets, these public available buckets, contain mixed data, which I don't understand, because actually when you in simple storage service, you are not paying for amount of buckets, but you are paying for data you store them. So so this is the big no-no for the DevOps who are putting all the data in one bucket. It should be segregated. And then it can be, of course, much better managed when you know what you are storing. There were a lot of files. Here are the examples of backups. So all the backups available in those buckets. What was pretty scary, but there were so many files that I have to develop some tools to manage it. So, note for DevOps: the only reason why you should give the public access to your bucket is actually when you are storing the content of a static web page. In any other case, you should actually avoid it. So you can use like AWS config rules. There are ready to use rules. So you will be notified if one of your team member create publicly available bucket. And obviously, when you are when you are creating a bucket using the console management, you are notified by big orange alerts that this bucket is public. But people mainly are using like CloudFormation templates or Terraform, so there is much easier for making a mistake in giving permissions. Also, you can set CloudWatch events to monitor CloudTrail logs. So if any public bucket appeared, you will be notified. But the problem is, the main problem of this presentation is how to detect such secrets. So you have the storage and a lot of gigabytes inside of it. So what? So how to know if there is anything sensitive? I mean, data in some Git logs, some private SSH keys, or config files. How to search it? And this actually brings me to make another research. So I take 5 gigabytes of all those files, and anonymized data inside of it, faked the secrets, so not to reveal secrets of some company, and I put it to another S3 public bucket, and that is my testing sample. The files are in various types, like various archives, various file types. So everything should look like the real buckets which I was finding. So the first manual search. Do you know the service AWS Mechanical Turk? Who knows? Please raise your hand. Okay, some of you. So this is actually the story behind this service, and the name is that in 18th century there was the first prototype of artificial intelligence, and that was the machine, which was a big machine. So people were just going to this machine and play chess, and the machine was playing with you. So people believed that it's the real artificial intelligence in 18th century. But actually, it wasn't so artificial, because inside of it, there was a chess master who was playing against people. And in AWS Mechanical Turk, you are using real people to do your tasks. So you can specify any kind of task, any, let's say, intelligence required task. Like, for example, you want to do some, give me the results of any page containing this and this research. Or give me the pictures of it, whatever you can find. You can specify the requirements regarding the workers. So, for example, you want that this guy works in IT field, or this guy is a male, so they can perform some surveys for you, etc. Of course, there are some trollers, and one of them give a task to. The task was pretty simple: draw a cat and write a story about him. So people were drawing those cats, writing stories about it, and he published it as a book. So you are setting the reward for the task, and if it is good for the worker, he grabs a task and gives you the results. So for me, it was simple. I was giving you I was giving the list of all the files, and the task was find any secrets you can in these files. So after several hours after specifying the task, I got my first report, which looks like this, and it was pretty simple. Like, oh, this folder contains no sensitive data. This file contains AWS access key. This file contains various license keys. So, because I knew where was the secrets and how and which of them they were put, I could analyze then the results. So after 6 hours, all the tasks, so reviewing the 5 gigabytes of data, took like 2 hours, more than 2 hours. I put a reward $20, and the $2.50 is from AWS. Effectiveness, it is pretty poor. So people are actually poor in finding secrets, because the worker wants to finish task as soon as possible. So if the secret was hidden was hidden, then he wasn't able to find it. So only the obvious ones, yeah, he found. And also a pure problem, like he couldn't download 3 gigabyte file. Mainly those workers are from India or Africa, so the bandwidth of the internet is not very cool. And of course, the main problem of all this method is even if there is a leak, and even if this leak is found by the worker, then you are double fuck up, because it is now the leak is also, the worker has access to the leak. You have no idea how he's storing it, and if you can trust him. So what about the dedicated service? Amazon released the service called Amazon Macie, and it is described by the provider as machine learning powered security service to discover, classify, and protect sensitive data. So really sound like a beast. So I thought that, that will be definitely very good. After some minutes, I got such chart, and I was surprised, positively surprised that it's recognizing the plaintext private key, the AWS secret, and some other. It is presented to you in kind of list of all the files, who is the owner of the file, and you can directly refer from the report to the file and see if it is really the sensitive data. It didn't have any problems with finding secrets in the plain files. So if you put all the files to the bucket, it didn't have any problems. But actually, it is looking for secrets. It is detecting secrets using the regular expressions. So it was shocking for me, because this service is not cheap. And it is really like a lot of marketing buzzwords like AI, machine learning around it. But in fact, it is using regular expression to detect those secrets. Well, it was pretty shocking for me. The AI, the machine learning, is actually used only to classify data. But for detecting secrets, what is not explicitly written in the description is not. So what Macie didn't find, if I, for example, specify secrets in the email, and then the copy of the email was placed in my bucket, it wasn't found. Why? Because as you can see, there are some requirements that that it has to be some variable name and the equal sign. So it was too much for AWS Macie to detect it. What else? Keys hidden in Git logs. So if I put the .git repository to the bucket, then forget about it, because Macie will not find anything there. And what was even more scary, it doesn't scan recursively. So if it is able to unpack the archive, but it is only verifying the first line of file. And if the keys are hidden in the subfolder, it doesn't work for Macie. It's too much. So results, less than an hour. It's pretty quick comparing to the manual search. Price $20. It's the first gigabyte is for free, but the next gigabytes are $5 per gigabyte. Effectiveness, it's good at classifying data, but poor in detecting real secrets. Using only regular expression seems to be too little for this task. So I asked myself, can I do a better method? Can I create something? So to do this, firstly, let's analyze how human brains are working in searching some secrets. So first of all, you have to define some target. Let's say it will be the empty Pepsi bottle. Then specify target's characteristics. So it will be like the logo of Pepsi on the bottle. And then you are able to find it. So let's take a play, and I will show you the picture, and then you will try to find the empty Pepsi bottle. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Where is the empty Pepsi bottle? You have? Where? Where? No, here no. It's a milk Wowicz, I think. Well, actually it's there. Yeah, there's the Pepsi. It was funny when I was doing it, and my wife was looking at me, and what are you doing? I'm preparing presentation, really. It's like 20 minutes staring at this to search if there are more Pepsi bottles. Okay, so the same idea we can take to finding secrets. So what can you say about such secret access key? What characteristic it has? Length, definitely. They have fixed length. What else? Characters, yeah. They are from the base 64 char set. Actually, not all the characters from the base 64, but most of them. And definitely, they are random. What means they have high entropy. Now, to give you the idea what is entropy and not going deep into the mathematical definitions, the very intuitive definition is if something with lower entropy is much ordered than something with higher entropy. So you can very intuitively say that something with the disorder has higher entropy than something which is ordered. And there was a guy called Shannon who created a formula of counting the entropy. And by the way, he's the father of information theory, and thanks to this guy, actually, we have digital signaling today. So you should remember the name if you work in IT. So how does it work in practice? For example, if you have a string, Chuck Norris counted to infinity 20 twice, it's 40 characters. And this string is the per character entropy is estimated at 3.81 nuts. Nuts is the unit when you are counting the entropy using the natural logarithm. And another string, or with the shrug emoji, it will not be taken into account because it contains character out of base 64, right? And if you take the AWS secret key, then you can see the big difference in the per character entropy. When I generated 100 secret keys, I saw that it always higher than 4.4, but I put 4.3 just in case to be sure. So, what about finding passwords? Using the entropy for finding passwords pretty sucks because the strings are too short. So for detecting passwords, I see that much better method is to use the password strength checkers, so the ready-to-use libraries like password meter, like Python password meter, which if you are analyzing each string, then you can see if this is a strong password, right? And regarding regular expressions, we shouldn't forget about them because you can very easily found files which very probably which are sensitive, like with the PIM or key extension. Also, if you are analyzing, if in your company people are using the, for example, Polish language or any other, not English, in your source code, then most of the ready-to-use tools are not working. But here you can specify the grep word, like hasło, like parole in Russian, whatever. And also for detecting, like if you are searching for some occurrences of specific words, you can use regular expressions. So I've created a tool called the DumpsterDiver, and the main features of it, it's open source. It has it uses estimated Shannon entropy to find private keys. It uses the password meter library for finding passwords, and it searches inside compressed archives like the zip, tar, etc. And also it is able to find secrets in the Git logs if you are storing the whole Git repository. So it also supports the advanced search, and advanced search, maybe it's too big word for this, but it allows you to specify using the YAML file. You can specify the file type, also the grep words, and amount of occurrences of it. So if you are, for example, if you are looking only the mails from the certain domain in certain file types, you can use the weight of it. And also you can specify multiple grep words inside of it. So, time for the demo. And yeah, it's written in Python 3, and it requires the local copy. The only required parameter is p to specify the path, the local path to the folder. And yeah, so I put all the content of my sample bucket, I put into the test folder, and in a few seconds there are the results. A lot of them. So let's analyze if there are false positives or not. So let's take the first one, and it is in mail EML file. So to show you, let's open it. And in the mail, inside of it, you can see that, yeah, there are secrets. So this what wasn't found by the Macie. You can see that this string is actually doubled here, and also some even longer string is found in the same file, which wasn't visible on the when we open it. But it is actually because of the EML extension, and if you open it in the text file, then you can see that this longer string is actually part of the signature, and the repeat string was actually later in the response in this email. So let's go to other examples. What can it do? To limit the findings, you can specify the key length, for example. So if you are searching only for AWS secrets, you are specifying the max key to 40, and yeah, and you can see that it has found, for example, that this string in the extracted files tools prowler readme. So let's see if it is true. Let's unpack the archive. And inside of it, yeah, tools, prowler, and in readme, there should be keys. So let's go through it. And in fact, yeah, there are keys. And I just want to remind you that for AWS Macie, it was too much because it was hidden in this in this next folders. So it wasn't found. What's more, the results of it are not only printed to the output of terminal, but also they are written to the JSON format, so you can take the results in JSON and consume it by other system. And the JSON is pretty standard for all the tools. So you can see that also some high entropy was found in the Git repository. So let's go there, and you can see that, yeah, in fact, there is the Git repository. And if you use git log with the -p, then you can see the differences between each commit. And then you can see, yeah, that in fact there were pushed keys, and then they are removed. So only the keys are now in git logs. So that's all for this short demo. Now, the results. So it took just a few seconds to detect those secrets. It's for free. It's on MIT license, so you can use it in whatever way you want. It found all AWS secret keys, but it's not the perfect tool. So it wasn't able to, for example, decode the MongoDB files, like the binary JSON, or also they didn't recognize the license keys. If you run it on a very big amount of data, it may produce the false positives. But later then, in each instance, you are, let's say, you are more customizing your searches. So now the question is, should we be afraid of such leaks? What bad can happen, even if one worker if one team member has access to it? So this is the story from All In Data, also from previous year. All In Data was hiring. So one of the interview step was to give you a task that you, as a DevOps, you will create, you will deploy some instances. And obviously, they had to give the keys with EC2 permissions to guys to allow it. So one of the interviewee, he wanted to, I don't know, show off. So he put his solution to his public GitHub account, and obviously it was recognized by the guy on the side of All In Data. However, he reported to CEO, and CEO said, "Okay, it's Friday afternoon. I have no time. I will handle this issue after the weekend." And after the weekend, he came back to work and see that he's supposed to pay almost $100,000 for what? What do you think? What happened? Exactly. Yeah. So the permissions allow to create an instance, any instance in any region. So they take it and run the biggest instances in every region, and it's just after one weekend. What is funny, when we were auditing one company, the customer wasn't aware actually that he has one instance mining cryptos, because it was much slower, much lower, and it didn't produce, such difference. It is visible. It is very visible. But if you are smart, for example, if you have one team member which is not very ethical, he can use it that it will be very slowly mining, but for his account. And using the keys, there are it is possible in AWS to escalate your privileges. So, for example, you can use the EC2 role to start a new instance, and assign role to the instance, which will then create a new policy to your account, and you will get administrator. Some of the techniques how to escalate privileges in AWS and which permissions actually allow you to do it are on my blog. Later I will tell you more. What is the worst scenario? The company called CodeSpaces, they were the alternative to GitHub in 2013, but they put all the data to AWS, including backups, without any cross account. So one keys just leaked, and the attacker was able to escalate his privileges. Then he made some backup account, and when he saw that the DevOps are deleting his accounts, then he started to removing all the resources. So in just one day, the company failed. The company stopped existing. So that's the worst case scenario. So yeah, what conclusions we can take? Repositories are still one of the main source of key leaks. You can use, for example, very nice tools that detect secrets, and it also uses the entropy for finding keys. Also supports regular expressions, but you can specify the pre-commit hooks, and this is super because you are configuring the pre-commit hooks on the server side. So every developer who is trying to push his code, this new commit is analyzed by the pre-commit hook, and if it is not, if it contains some secrets, then the push is rejected. Of course, you can use services like the Git Guardian, etc. However, again, it's about trust, because you are giving the API keys to the third-party company, and if they detect secret, then they have this secret. So up to you. And for cloud storage, like for example, a simple storage service, you can create the Lambda, which will detect every appearing new object. It will analyze it, and if it contains some secrets, then you can remove it. So definitely encrypt data at rest. People are still not using it, even if they are storing the data, which is very rarely accessed. And enforce using multi-factor authentication. Actually, you cannot, it is not officially supported by the AWS CLI, but you can use, for example, the AWS recipes for forcing the programmatic access to use Google Authenticator. And it looks like this. So here is the guide I wrote about how to use, because you have to set up some policies to enforce people to use this multi-factor authentication. And you can see that I'm trying to use profile Alice, and I get the error that access denied. Then I'm using this AWS Recipes init STS session, and I'm asked for specifying the one-time password, and then I'm using the Google Authenticator on my phone. I'm putting the code, and then everything is made automatically, and I have the session token for 8 hours. What else? I've created some CTF-like game, so the whole story, the whole game is starting here. So you can see the description of it and all the and later you will have to see all the misconfigurations in the AWS infrastructure. What else? There is also, have you ever heard about the Cloud Goat? So it's a vulnerable platform. It uses Terraform to deploy AWS services, which has some misconfigurations, and your task is to find all of them. So pretty easy to deploy it. You can also specify only your IP address. So it creates the security groups, which allows you to access these misconfigured services only from your IP. And there are a lot of those services like the Lightsail, Code Build, EC2, Lambda, etc. So also encourage you to use it, and yeah, and that's the end. So do you have any questions? Yeah, go ahead. I don't know actually.
Because after what you said, it seems to me that would be useful, because we have two-factor on the human accounts, but the one we use for Terraform are do not use two-factor. So yeah, that seems like something that
never tried.
Worth researching.
Never tried. So sorry, cannot answer you. Are there any other questions?
Great presentation. I just wanted to ask, let's assume a scenario in which you found something confidential in one of those buckets. Are you aware of, yeah, it's a good assumption. Are you aware of any method to notify the owner of the bucket?
Yeah, that's actually a big problem, because when I was finding not only secrets but also whole databases containing personal data of people, so I tried to contact them because obviously in the database you know what is the source of the leak. And I tried to contact people that, yeah, I found something sensitive, but usually there was no response. So, for example, what I was doing, I can show you one more tool which I create. So, when I found the right permissions, then I started to upload some alert files to them. And let me show you. It's here. Okay, not here. Okay, I can show you later. So I was when I had the right permissions, I was I was uploading files, alerting them, but usually there was very little response. So actually, I would also like to know the answer to your question. And yeah, it's really problematic. Very few people actually replied to me that thank you. or something, yeah, or there were messages like, oh, did you find anything else? So yeah, free penetration test.
Okay, that's all the time we have for questions. This session is over. Thank you very much for listening to Paweł.
Thank you very much, guys.